Yes, if you want to say that I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice. Say that I was a drum major for peace. I was a drum major for righteousness.
Mr. Brian Hales, the college administration, faculty, staff, and our Black Student Alliance, I want to welcome you and thank you for attending our annual tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the world's greatest drum major for justice, peace, and righteousness. We have a wonderful and informative program planned for your enjoyment, including selections by our Calhoun chorale. We are looking forward to our speakers' inspiration, knowledge, and encouragement, and hope that you all enjoy the program. Thank you.
Walk with me. news. I got news. I got news. Oh Lord, I got good news.
I got a song of this, that good enough, and that's good news.
Got good news.
I got a song of this, that's good enough, and that's good news. I'm gonna lay down the scrolls, gonna shoulder up my cross, gonna sing a song for my Jesus.
I'm gonna play my harp for my Jesus. Gonna put on my robe for my Jesus.
I'm gonna wear my crown for my Jesus.
Ain't that good news? I got news. I got news. Oh Lord, I got good news.
Our speaker today, Pastor Ernest L. Williams Sr., serves in our math department as the department chair of mathematics on our campus here at Calhoun Community College. He has been an instructor at Calhoun for 14 years. Pastor Williams also serves as pastor of the Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church in Calhoun, Alabama. Pastor Williams grew up 15 miles outside Selma in a small community called Oroville. Many people there influenced his life to be the man that he is today. Even though the civil rights movement took place before he was born, Pastor Williams was surrounded by people who had first-hand knowledge of the movement. Pastor Williams' father and uncle participated in the march from Selma to Montgomery. Pastor Williams' uncle Ernest was put in jail as a result of his involvement in the march. Pastor Williams' grandmother was present at the march in Montgomery when Dr. King spoke on the steps of Alabama State Capitol. As a young preacher, growing up near Selma, Pastor Williams was personally touched from conversations he had with civil rights leaders like Dr. Joseph Lowry, Congressman John Lewis, Reverend C.T. Vivian, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, Ms. Josephine Carr, Reverend F.D. Reese, Dr. L.L. Anderson, Dr. C.L. Legg, and the Reverend Jesse Jackson. All of them were close associates of Dr. King. Pastor Williams also had the opportunity to serve as youth pastor at the historic First Baptist Church of Montgomery, Alabama. First Baptist played an intricate role in the civil rights movement. Dr. Ralph Abernathy served as pastor of First Baptist when Dr. King was serving at Dexter Avenue. And as God would ordain it, one of Pastor Williams' current parishioners at Mount Zion, Dr. Creeds Beverly, was a member at Dexter Avenue when Dr. King served as pastor. Pastor Williams is married to his lovely wife, Veronica, and they are blessed with 3 beautiful boys. I present to you our friend and brother, Pastor Ernest L. Williams Sr.
Give way to a gentleman who is a member of this community, Mr. Donald Monroe. Mr. Monroe, some may know him. He has been a long-time educator in the Huntsville area. He's a native of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He wrote a poem back in 1961, and he dedicated that poem to Dr. King. And I want him to come. He served as a mentor to me, and my father passed last year, and Mr. Monroe has been like a father to me. And I just want to give just a few moments for this gentleman who has a kind, humble spirit to speak the poem that he gave so long ago.
I've entitled my poem, Dr. Martin Luther King. Deep in the Southland, where racial danger clings, arose a great, great man named Dr. Martin Luther King. For the freedom of his people through a bill called civil rights, this great, great man began to dedicate his life. A preacher and a teacher with nerves as strong as steel, this great, great man dedicated himself to do God's will. Though thrown in jail, beat upon, called unworthy names, still the cause for which this man did fight one international friend. Yet in their pride, as day draws nigh with a victory far from won, but with tears in their eyes, as they gaze upon high, saying, we shall overcome. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to have Mr. Monroe to speak that poem to you this morning. And I want to thank Dr. Carter and to his staff and to those who have asked of me to be here today, and to this administration at this fine college, to faculty and staff, students who are here. I pray that these words would not fall on deaf ears. Let's give the chorale another hand. Let's give a hand to the fine director, Mr. Brandon Oldham. I'm delighted to have been asked to speak here today about a great American who has influenced the minds of men, women, boys, and girls all over this world. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. believed in a day where one day sons of former slaves and sons of former slave owners would be able to sit down at the table of brotherhood as brothers and sisters. And so I want to raise a question. Are we there yet? We understand that we have come so far since the last 40 or 50 years, but I raise a question. Are we there yet? In terms of equality, in terms of how we treat one another, are we there yet? Yes, the black man in this country has been given the right to vote. He has citizenship. He has what has been afforded to him, the ability to go as he wills. But even as in my grandfather's 1976 Ford engine, there is something missing. There's something missing with what we call equality. I saw a movie a few years ago that depicted a family traveling across the country on their way to see the grandparents, and the children that sat back in the back seat every 15 minutes kept asking mother and father, are we there yet? And I raised that question. Dr. King had a dream that one day his 4 little children would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. But I raised the question, are we there yet? In terms of equality, we might be able to say that some of us have arrived. But still, for the vast number of people of color in this entire world, it is still the same. We are not there yet. Economically, socially, educationally, we're not there yet. And if I would choose a scripture from the Bible, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 8, verse 20, I believe sums it up, where the prophet Jeremiah said that the harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved. The prophet Jeremiah saw the advancements of the culture of Israel to assimilate into the majority culture. He saw his people take on new names and new languages, giving up their own identity to be identified with a majority crowd. He saw, as it seemed to them to be a major accomplishment, that they were, even though they were Jews, but they were in a strange land, and they saw themselves as having rights unseen before. Just then, the prophet Jeremiah realized that the very mind and conscience of the people of Israel was bent not on freedom, but on in servitude. They were content with merely being slaves or servants of the mines to the Assyrians, Babylonians, and also to the Persians. So the prophet Jeremiah concluded, the harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we're not saved. We've gone through persecution. We've gone through captivity. And we should have learned our lesson by now, but even after all of those years, they were still craving to be enslaved, not physically, but mentally. And if I was at the Baptist church about now, somebody on this side would say, make it plain, preacher. We're not there yet when 12-year-old girls look and dress like grown women. We're not there yet when you see senseless killings and stabbings on the news daily amongst people of color. We're not there yet because Shaniqua and Moesha walk the streets at night. When Ray has his pants falling down below his backside. Junebug drops out of school to sell drugs because he thinks that selling drugs is the way to make it versus going to college. I'm here to tell somebody we're not there yet. We're not there yet when a single mother raising boys on her own has to work 2 jobs, one in the day serving tables as a waitress, then at nighttime going to a bar as a bartender. And I know what I'm talking about because I just described my mother and our home situation when I came up as a boy. No, we're not there yet. Young people today don't even know how to communicate face to face because they're so glued to cell phones, video games, and social media. We're not there yet. I remember when I was a boy, pot was something that you cooked with. Crack was a hole in the wall. Tweet was something birds did. Weed was grass that you cut outside. And rock was something that you threw. We're not there yet. We're not there yet because when I was a boy, parents and teachers worked together. When I got in trouble at school, when I got home, I got in trouble again because the teacher had my grandmama's phone number. I asked my grandmother, how did you know that I was guilty? And that old gray-headed lady said words that her mother spoke to her. And she said, I know all about children because I've been children myself. We're not there yet when high-profile athletes like Adrian Peterson would be dismissed from playing in the NFL because he whipped his son. Then on the other side, when another high-profile athlete, Ray Rice, gets dismissed and then reinstated because he put his hands on his wife, there's something wrong with that picture. So what kind of message are we sending to the younger generation? My friends, I tell you, we're not there yet. Jeremiah said it right, the harvest is past. The summer is ended. We're not saved. We're not there yet because still here in America, young black men are still being targeted by law enforcement officers. Now the blood of Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and Eric Garner still sings from infamy. There, I must say that black lives still matter. And I saw on the news where a police officer that held down Michael Garner, and that young man said, I can't breathe. I want to tell you that I'm not satisfied with what's going on now, and I can't breathe. All right. Not satisfied with how things are going on socially, economically, religiously. I can't breathe. Can't breathe because I'm tired and it seems like I can't do anything about it. I can't breathe. Maybe one day you'll get to that point where you would say the same. I can't breathe anymore because something is not right. Well, you ask, what can we do? And I think that is the appropriate question to ask of you and of me. What can I do? Well, today you can commit to being the best parent you can be. You can commit to going to college, not just for the sake of going to college, but to go to college or trade school or the military to make a difference in this world that we live. Ask the question, what can I do to make America better? What can I do to make this world better? But realize there are some children that might be in your neighborhood or in the other neighborhood across the railroad tracks. They may not have what you have. They might not be privileged with growing up with the things that you were privileged to have. So what can you do for them? And so can you volunteer each week for 1 hour? Maybe as a tutor, maybe as a coach on the little league team. Jesus asked Peter, James, and John, can you not but watch with me for 1 hour? So I ask of you, can you give at least 1 hour? At your local church or mosque or synagogue or wherever, can you give 1 hour? At the local recreation center, boys club, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, can you give 1 hour to commit each week to giving back to the community? It is not enough to say that we have arrived. Because you drive a fine car, you live in a big house. That's not right, my friends. Because there's somebody else that don't have it like you have it. So what about them? And remember that if you are blessed, then you've been blessed to be a blessing. This world would be a better place if we not so much expected from the government those things that we can do for ourselves. And so what can I do to help Barack Obama in his efforts to make America what it ought to be? Yes, I'm partial to him, but it doesn't matter who the president is, he's our leader. And if he's Republican or Democrat or independent, as a nation, we ought to be behind him or her. What can I do to help this nation be that shining star that the founding fathers believed that it could be? And so how can we learn from Dr. Martin Luther King today? Dr. King was concerned with the uplift of man. And his strategy was to combine all levels of life in the community. The civil rights movement included not only ministers, but children, students, lawyers, and judges of the likes of Thurgood Marshall and Julian Bond. The civil rights movement included medical doctors like Dr. Sonny Herford, who's a member of the Huntsville community, who also served as Dr. King's physician. The civil rights movement included thinkers, educators like Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who gave at that time the National Negro Week, and we have now seen that turn into Black History Month. The civil rights movement included bus drivers, mamas and daddies, maids, cooks, and barbers, business owners like Mr. A.G. Gaston of Birmingham, Alabama's first black millionaire, who when Dr. King was in the Birmingham jail, Mr. Gaston was the one to pay the bail. I want to make sense now of Jeremiah 8:20. I'm a preacher and that's what I do.
Right now.
So if I could hermeneutically look at Jeremiah 8:20, that the harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we're not saved. The harvest is past here. The word saved here is synonymous for freedom. Is the black man free in America? If you define freedom in terms of equality, ownership, in the ability to go as you choose, then you may say he's free. But if you define freedom in a cognitive sense, then I must say that he's not free. Freedom is not merely having the ability to choose. Freedom is actually knowing what to choose. Because some think they're free and so they've chosen drugs. Some think they're free and they've chosen alcohol. Some who think they're free and they did not do not want to go to college, but freedom is knowing what to choose. This word freedom is actually a word that's taken from the word autonomy. And autonomy is a word that comes from two root words that mean self and law. So you say that an institution, a person, a society is autonomous if it rules or governs itself. The danger with self-law is that man removes God from the center and he places himself in the center. And that was the whole irony of the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve chose to replace God with their own psyche. And now today, mankind has become the center of his own universe. Thus, freedom is not just merely being able to choose, but knowing what to choose. But secondly, freedom is not the absence of servitude. Freedom is knowing who to serve. When Israel came out of Egypt, you recall, they complained to Moses because they wanted to go back to Egypt to serve the Egyptians. They didn't have the chains on their feet anymore, but they were still in bondage in the mind. And they wanted to go back to Egypt because they still did not understand what freedom was all about. And I want to tell you today, my friends, that you can be thinking that you're free, but you can be in servitude in your mind and in your conscience. And if we don't get the Exodus debriefing right, we will still be slaves in the mind, in the thought, and in deed. Doesn't matter what color you are either. You can be white or whatever color and still be in bondage in the mind. But I'm hopeful as I leave you today. I'm hopeful because Dr. King was still hopeful. Even 4 days before he was assassinated on April 3rd, 1968, March 31st, 1968, Dr. King left everlasting words on the conscience and the fabric of this world. And I want to leave you now with those words. There's a little song that we sing in our movement down in the South. I don't know if you heard it. It has become the theme song. We shall overcome. We shall overcome deep in my heart. I do believe we shall overcome. You know I've joined hands so often with students and others behind jail bars singing it, we shall overcome. Sometimes we've had tears in our eyes when we've joined together to sing it, but we still decided to sing it. We shall overcome. Oh, before this victory is won, some will have to get thrown in jail some more, but we shall overcome. Don't worry about us before the victory is won. Some of us will lose jobs, but we shall overcome. Before the victory is won, even some will have to face physical death. But if physical death is the price that some must pay to free their children from a permanent philosophical death, then nothing can be more redemptive. For the victory is won, some will be misunderstood and called bad names and dismissed as rabble-rousers and agitators, but we shall overcome. We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We shall overcome because Carlyle is right. No lie can stand forever. We shall overcome because William Cullen Bryant is right. Truth crushed the earth will rise again. We shall overcome because James Russell Laurel is right. Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future, and behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadows, keeping watch over his own. We shall overcome because the Bible is right. You shall reap what you sow. We shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. With this faith, we will go out and join councils of despair and bring new light into the dark chambers of pessimism. We will be able to rise we will be the participants in making it so. And so, as I leave you this evening, walk together, children. Don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land.
Like I was calling the deacons. We had a tremendous blessing today, and I hope each and every one of you will take the words that were spoken to us into heart. Because truly, we have to get there someday. I don't know if it's going to be on this earth, but if you plan to be in the next earth, you better get started on it right now while you're here, because that's when you're going to make it. We come together as a community. Thank you very much, Pastor Williams, for those words of inspiration. I'd like to acknowledge those participants in today's program, starting with Mr. Granville Odom and the Calhoun Community College Chorale. Thank you so much for those renditions that you gave us. We want to say a special thanks to our ESA officers for their participation, and of course, our maintenance crew who set this all up for us, the PR department. Everyone had a hand in making this event possible today, so we want to say thank you to them. But above all, we want to say thank you to you for being here today. It's truly been an experience that we hope that you can enjoy, and we hope that you continue to come here in future years. I would not end these comments without giving a special tribute to Ms. Manny Burks and Ms. Pam Little for their hard work. You know, oftentimes you don't know what goes into planning this event, but without them, we would not be here. So Manny, will you wave again, Manny Burks? Manny Burks. I want to call your attention to the list of events that are scheduled for Black History Month. In particular, I want to pay a special notice to the tribute to Dr. Maya Angelou on February the 10th. So we invite you to come to those events starting on March the 3rd, I'm sorry, on February the 3rd, with our film festival being the first event. And now this time, I'm going to call upon, let's see, who can I call upon? One of our academic people, let's see. Well, I guess I'm going to, Dr. Love, sitting right there. Come on. I'm going to ask you to bless the food, and we're going to invite you to participate in the refreshment that we have prepared.
Let's bow our heads. We thank you for the food that we are about to receive, for the nourishment of our bodies, to give us strength as we journey through the struggle. We ask that you strengthen us and guide us so that we can always order our steps in your word. In your precious name we pray.
One last thing, you know, we have a program right here on campus for those who really want to get involved in this particular campaign to serve the community. It's called the Service Learning Program. Go online, look at the agencies that we have available for you. You can begin making your contribution simply by joining that service learning program. So let me encourage all of our students to do that. You can get partial academic credit in your courses for just doing 10 hours of volunteer work in the community. And Pastor Williams mentioned tutoring, becoming a mentor to someone in the Boys and Girls Club. Those are all included in our list of agencies. So please consider that as you go through this semester.
If I can do my duty as a Christian, or if I can bring salvation to a world once wrought, if I can spread the message as the Master taught, then my living will not be in vain.